Hi everyone, thank you so much for having me here. First of all, really, this is an amazing event. I really wish you all the best for the future. It's incredible. The energy is amazing, and you've been so kind with me. So thank you so much. Really, I'm so honored. Yeah, I'm Lorenzo Redaelli, also known as EYEGUYS, and I'm the creator of Mediterranea Inferno. And today, I'm going to talk about the creative process of the references and inspiration behind the game, and maybe it will be helpful or interesting for someone. So yeah. Okay, so Mediterranea Inferno is an interactive visual novel that mixes sequences of pure narration given with animatic-like, graphic novel-like style and layout, so quite different from usual visual novels that uses static sprites that pops on static background, mixed with segments of first-person interactive point-and-click situation in which you can explore psychedelic and dreamlike scenarios. And it's the story about three young guys from Milán, Italy, that try to recover and rediscover their friendships after the 3 years of isolation because of the pandemic. They try to organize this vacation in southern Italy, but soon they realize that the world has changed, they have changed, and so soon the dream vacation will turn into a pure nightmare. And that's when a fourth character came in the story, which is a fantasy character called Madama, which is the dealer of mirages. And these mirages are depicted as prickly pears, so those fruits with the thorns on it, that if peeled and eaten by one of the characters, they can give them a fulfilling experience of psychedelic self-indulgence. So, with my first video game, Milky Way Prince the Vampire Star, that was my university project, so I never actually expected it to be played or read by people outside the university. It was a very personal project, it was like a private journal for me. But with the second one, I know I wanted to talk to a wider audience, and to a global audience actually. And also I wanted to talk about something more related to my nation, social situation. And the problem was, how can I speak about something so local to a global audience? How could they understand me? So I started to think about the most common stereotype about Italy, which is not mafia, of course. The States made plenty of stuff about that, but it's the narrative stereotype of the Italian summer. And Italian summer is something that we created actually, but it's also widely used abroad in many stories. Like think about the second season of White Lotus, or the talented Mr. Ripley, or the Guy Ritchie movie with Madonna, which sucks. But yeah, and so I started thinking about my personal Italian summer. And when I was a child, me and my family used to go to southern Italy, in Puglia, to my grandfather hometown called Martina Franca. And it was so fun because every year it was the same. We made the same car route with the same stops. We paid visits to the same relatives. We went to the same restaurants. And which is even funnier is that it was the same vacation that my mother did when she was a child, and my grandfather was just her father. And so it's always been some kind of ritual of every year to do the same stuff and this cyclic, never-ending stuff. And the point is that the more I grew up, the more everything seems to fall apart. Because my relative was getting older, everything was getting more boring. Over-tourism was killing the authenticity of those places, and everything was getting so expensive. And so I started to think about this myth of the Italian summer and this friction to this ritual of the Italian summer that cannot maybe be any longer something that can fulfill us. And yeah, because Italian summer was born in the 60s, where in Italy there was an economic boom, and the upper middle class could move and drive their car from the towns to the shores of Italy during the weekends or during the months of summer. And this dichotomy was born about working so hard during the week, you can relax for a few days or a few months here, but they could afford it. They were so rich that they could do everything. I mean, it was the economic boom, and the point is that that theme is still present today. So people are now working like 11 months a year, like crazy, just to achieve those little 1 week maybe of vacation. And we cannot afford it anymore, basically. And the stress coming out of this theme, it's so hilarious. Like you can see Italians like starting preparing the vacation on March, and they get so stressed. Everything is overcrowded. It's so expensive. Like they really cannot meet their expectation because there are a lot of expectations about this. And what they want is this idea of having a bubble, some kind of pause to get back to that golden age of Italy, because we keep reminding ourselves how great we were. Really, we're thinking about the Roman Empire, like for real. And the problem is that, as I said, that's no longer the situation. We cannot more afford it. So to me, it was just fun. But then I realized that this was a clear metaphor of how Italian contemporary mentality works. Like, I think we are following this Italian dream of getting back to this golden age, which is literally the American dream that they brought to Italy when they soft colonized us after the Second World War. And we desperately want to be bourgeois or upper middle class, but we're poor. We have to admit it. We're poor. We are not rich in spirituality, in spirits, not in culture anymore. And I think like a lifestyle more similar to the one in Eastern Europe could suit us much better. Anyway, all this expectation and this failure really led me to the creation of this narrative multimedia universe for the game. So I think that the COVID situation really highlighted all the problem of my society, and after the isolation, many people had this huge crave and desire for a payback. You know, they wanted to recover time, to find themselves again, or just do all the experiences they were afraid to not make anymore. And so, really, the best narrative structure that popped in my mind to talk about this was a battle royale, but a narrative battle royale. And the main ingredients of this was having participants, so the three protagonists of the game, so are Claudio, Mila, and Andrea, a judge, which maybe is the player, but in the game is kind of there's this vessel of Madama, the fantasy character, and also the metaphor, so these fruits of mirages that could be buy during the game to make the character happy about their vacation, about reaching that fantasy of revenge they have in mind. And talking about the characters, I wanted to talk about that very situation in the very moment and about my generation. And I really thought that the main coordinates of my generation were sociality, identity, and power. In particular, like sociality led me to the idea of FOMO, of course, during the isolation. I mean, Italy had probably the strongest kind of restrictions after China. And this idea of missing things out was like very widespread among younger people. And so the lack of sociality led to FOMO. And this theme is incarnated in the character of Andrea, who is in this vacation. He just wants to reconnect to his friends, or also to prove himself that he's still capable to connect with other people. Then, talking about identity, even in this case, it's the loss of identity. Because like younger Italians really have no idea of who they are, because always this idea of the great past, but there are no like models for the future or for the present. And so this orientation is embodied in the character of Claudio, who wants this vacation to get back to its roots, because like, as in my case, southern Italy is the hometown of his grandfather, who's been able, during the economic boom, to create an empire for his family. And then talk about power, and even in this case, the lack of power led to narcissism. And I think that my generation, our generation, really is connected to the idea of narcissism, because like with social media, I mean, that basically works with our narcissism. You have to be, I mean, if you want to take part of that, you have to be at least a bit narcissist, just putting a photo of you on the internet. And this is embodied in the character of Mida, who was the one that everybody made fun of before COVID, but during isolation he became a fashion influencer on Instagram, so he went to the vacation with them to prove that now it's better than them. And okay, so talking about the characters, my main inspiration were the film by Luca Guadagnino. Okay, in those years, it was around like 5 years ago, Call Me By Your Name went out, dropped, and it was a huge success in the world. So I thought it was a great case study to see how Italy could, create this interaction with a worldwide audience. The problem is that I really hate Luca Guadagnino for not always putting Americans or British people in vacation in Italy as the main characters, while Italian in his movie are just ignorant peasants. And I mean, I get where this is from, because I hate my country too as well sometimes, but I mean, I'm Italian too, he's Italian too, so maybe we could just use some opportunities to have a better representation. But the fun part of his film are that these people are all like bourgeois people, so rich that they could afford boredom. In fact, these movies are just about them laying down in pools, nothing happens, and if something happens, it's just too much, so please let them bore on the poolside. And I was just thinking maybe it would be very fun to torture these characters. It was such a pain to see these people just laying down and being so happy in my country. But a better example of where the reference comes from is from Paolo Pasolini, which is one of my favorite movie directors, and in particular 2 movies. Teorema, which is very kind of Guadagnino style actually, even if it's from the 60s. And this is the story about a family, a very rich family, who is like spending their time in this luxurious mansion. And they all are like the typical bourgeois family, like a father and mother, a son and a daughter, all with their very constructed social roles. And suddenly they host this mysterious guest for a while in this mansion, and all of them, that included, they have sex with him privately. And these events like completely destroy their life, because they realize how caged they are in their mind, in their social constructs. And when this stranger, this foreigner, leaves the house, they are so broken and lost that they completely degenerate. Like, you see the worst stuff, like the father starts wandering in the desert, like something like that. But also like the movie called Salò by Pasolini, which maybe you may know because of its extreme content, but actually for me this is one of the most important movies in Italy, and I really think it should be studied in school, because like basically this is the story of 4 old men that collect a lot of very young people in this huge mansion in Salò, and they basically do all the worst stuff to them. Like really, it's pure torture to watch, but it has a meaning, because like these 4 men represent the power of the government, the power of the economic system, the power of church, and the power of laws. So basically it's Italy torturing the new generation. And what I really love about these movies, and I really try to replicate in my game, is that the characters are just symbols, they are metaphors, and you're not rooting for a character because it's, because you empathize with him. You're really seeing a social dynamic interacting to other social dynamics, so you can really talk about very complex stuff, but just seeing these young twins having fun in summer, so I really think it was very interesting approach. And then I try to think about the activities and the settings of the game. And even in this case, I started thinking about my own experiences as a child. And I was a very introverted kid. And when I was in vacation in southern Italy, I always isolated myself and start drawing stuff. And I remember that even when I was really young, I created the palette of the game, basically, because like everything around me had three colors. The red of the ground, because it's rich of clay, the white of the buildings, and black, because everything is seen backlit by the sun, so it's always a silhouette, a black silhouette. And I took this palette and then it turned into something very extreme to watch during the game, like almost very flashy that hurts your eyes, because I wanted to replicate the feelings you have in summer when you lay down with your eyes closed and you have sun like filtering your eyelids, and when you open the light, your eyes is like everything's so flashy that it almost hurts your brain. Yeah, that's why the game is painful to watch sometimes. And for the composition of the backgrounds and the setting in general, I really find it interesting to replicate the work of Luigi Ghirri, which is an Italian photographer of the second half of the last century. And what's interesting for me is that this very geometrical composition, which is not that Wes Anderson boring symmetrical composition, but it's more like very modernist somehow. And the fact is that everything seems so flat. It's almost like the backdrop of a theater stage. And what is even more interesting is that these are places you usually see filled with people, like seashores or like a playground, but they are depicted in a moment where nobody's there. So your brain basically like starts filling that with ghosts, and it almost feels like a theme park when it's closed. Like this weird sense of melancholy and alienation coming from it, and it's very silent. Yeah, that's really something I want to recreate in the game as well. And then I had the miraggi in Italian, and these are the most like psychedelic parts, the most colorful one, the most maybe interesting part of the game to play because they are the only interactive ones. And I know I wanted to go a bit dark, maybe horror in this part. I'm a huge horror fan, and when you think about Italy and horror, you immediately think about, I don't know, Dario Argento, Giallo movies, with very flashy lights, neon lights, murderer, satanists, witches. All of this stuff is in the game, but I try to find a maybe more interesting reference. Also because like in those years, Saturnalia by Santa Ragione, who published my game as well, came out, which is directly inspired from Giallo movies, so I wanted to make something different. And a great reference for this was a movie by Federico Fellini, which maybe you may know for other kind of movie, but he actually made an horror movie, and nobody talks about it, and it's one of the most interesting horror movies of all time for me, because like it has this very unique horror aesthetic, very liberty, Art Deco stuff, it's very girly, because like he really tries to get into the woman sphere, for once not in a misogynistic way, maybe for the only way, for the only time. And what's interesting is that the monster, the ghosts you see in these movies are not like just for a shock value, but they are the remains, the residues of the psychological traumas of the protagonist, of her Catholic education, of the fact that she's a woman in Italy during those times, or the idea of being, of developing relationship with other women in Italy, which is very interesting. And this idea of having these remains of the past haunting your life really made me think about what Mark Fisher calls ontology, which is the theory that in our times, everything that surrounds us is literally the ghost of something from the past. Everything is to be remixed. There is the idea of nothing can be created brand new. So also this idea of the golden age that you cannot achieve. And also, the game has a lot of religious symbolism. I mean, for me, it's impossible to talk about Italy, especially southern Italy, without creating religious quotationism, because like we're surrounded by the ruins, basically, of cathedral, church, religious chapels, but also in this case, all of them, it's not a critique against the Vatican of Catholicism. It's more about the fact that these ruins are something from the past. I mean, nobody is religious in Italy anymore. They say, but they are. And these churches, maybe they lost their social function they had in the past, but they're still there. They're haunting us for many reasons. And Pierpaolo Pasolini, again, he tried to make a lot of this stuff in this movie in a very excellent ways. And you can see some scenes from La Ricotta in the Cameron, which is really, it's so powerful for me. And this is an example of how I used it. So you can see this is the Virgin Shepherdess of Martina Franca, which is the hometown of my grandfather. And one of my most vivid memories from my childhood is this statue in the cathedral, in the main cathedral, that they usually bring her to the procession as well. Like, you know. And you can see her being surrounded by lambs, who are all the people of the church. And she's killing a wolf, which is the devil. So, the game opens with this sequence, which is a mirage of Claudio going back to his grandfather's hometown after a while. And it's the first encounter with his grandfather, who was the one who created the empire of the family. And Claudio is traumatized by the figure of his father, who is the one who destroyed, who lost all the money of the family. So, when Claudio meets his grandfather in the mirage, he sees his grandfather dressed as the Virgin Shepherdess, because I thought, yeah, maybe if he has the same memories of me, he would have mixed with that, because it's the most iconic stuff there. And you can see, and the grandfather tells Claudio, well, you want to be a shepherd like me, so protect the sheep and the people around us, or our family, or you want to be a wolf like your father, like, so the one who destroyed the family, basically. And in the first scene of the game, basically to finish the mirage, in the most sexual way, let's say, you basically destroy and you really break this statue of the wolf, which is a metaphor of really trying to not be like your father and try to be like your grandfather. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, yeah, thank you so much.
I don't know if there's any question o alguna pregunta en español.
So I didn't know, because I mean, when I looked at your game on Steam, it was like your name and there was EYEGUYS, and I thought that maybe you had like collaborators or something, but was it you working alone, completely alone? Or?
Yeah. Okay. It's just my, actually EYEGUYS was my Tumblr, and I mean, it's just evolved in this. Yeah, I mean, I made it by myself, but then Santa Ragione Games, who published the game, I mean, they really follow me during the process, and they help me with the more technical stuff, like maybe creating the saving systems, the menus. But yeah, I mean, they've been so helpful. But I made drawings, music, coding and stuff. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello. Thank you so much for the talk, and thank you so much for the game, because I really love it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. I actually played Midway Princess as well.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been following Santa Ragione since Photonica, so...
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're great. And I have a couple of questions. One is regarding Santa Ragione, and how did you collaborate together, and how was your relationship with them, how you did it? And one is more open, and let's see if I can properly say it, because while playing Mediterranea Inferno, I saw a lot of similarities with Spain, and actually hearing your talk about the game and your and how did you get to the game. There's a lot of similarities with Spain, actually.
Okay.
But my question is, in the process of making the game and thinking about the game, how much did you think about that global audience, and how much did you think, okay, I want to put this on the game because they will understand this, or I don't care about them, I just want to put whatever I want on the game. How was that process, if there was any process like that, and in what moment you think, okay, this went too far, or maybe not far enough?
Okay.
And how do you think about this global audience, if you think at all about them?
Okay, thank you. Okay, first of all, like, I met Pietro from Santa Ragione during my master here, and master in video game design. And yeah, I mean, it basically just believed in Milky Way Prince. He thought it was something valuable to be shared with other people. And that's it, actually. I mean, it was the first one who believed in me, actually, in my life. So he just take care of what I was doing. So it's just that. And talk about the other question. Okay, so I wanted to show something made by an Italian about Italy. You know, to talk about stuff that you don't usually see in other kind of content. You know, we all grew up with a lot of Japanese stuff, and when you see their products, I mean, they're not like localized. Actually, you can hear Japanese names of foods, of objects, and people start to learn stuff from that. So if we go to Japan, we know how to talk about them, about how to call stuff because of that. So I wanted to recreate the same kind of stuff, like, so just not to over-explain stuff, especially if it's just, you know, if it's not peculiar for the plot to go on, or maybe, yeah, so maybe if it's something that you really need to understand to the core, maybe it was not so local, because, of course, but if it was something that surrounded the experience, yeah, why not? I mean, it's an occasion to make our culture be known to others. You know, when I was at GDC last year, I probably were the guys from Bemba, you know, the Indian game. They said, like, the more local you are, the more global you are. And it's true. I mean, that's what the world wants now. I mean, we don't want, like, adulterated narrations anymore, you know? Like, so, that's it. Thank you. Hello.
Are you working right now on a project that you can tell us about?
Okay, I'm working on a new project now. Probably I cannot tell what it's about, but I really want to make something very different, so I'm making a game without words. So there's still a narration, but I want to rely on more interactive aspects of the game. Yeah, also because, like, I need to process Mediterranea a bit, because it's been so intense to produce, like, for 3 years. So yeah.
Hi, first of all, I want to say that I really liked the conference. It was really interesting.
Thank you so much.
And also I want to ask you which program did you use and how much time did it take you?
Okay.
You say, I don't know if you say
Yeah,
it
3
right now.
years.
3
Yeah,
years.
3 years,
And
yeah.
on your own, right?
Yeah. It was during COVID, so plenty of time. We all found our way to survive. I did this. And yeah, I use Unity, but since I'm not an engineer, I use a plugin of visual coding for visual novels, basically. But I try to exploit every feature of it to integrate more stuff as possible. And yeah, it was 3 years. I guess like 2 years for the core part of the game, and then 1 year of polishing, you know, like rewatching stuff, maybe change a little bit of stuff, yeah.
Hi, first of all, thank you for the conference. And you were talking about the visuals and about the story of the game, but I really like the game and I am going to play it. But I would really like to know about the sound, the music of the game.
Okay.
Was it like in your mind in the moment of the development?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, music was a core part. I made music before making video games, so I'm more like confident with music. Also, I think like music, it's something that for me it's like very immediate. I mean, I have a feeling inside me. I can produce something like maybe rough, but it really captures that feelings for forever. It's like crystallized forever. By games, since they are so long to make, you really you need a lot of discipline to keep that original feelings inside of it. So yeah, I mean, the music for the game actually, okay, the game was born because of music, in the sense that I've been listening a lot of Italian music from the 60s and 70s, like in the new wave, the Italian new wave for those years, which is great. I mean, listen to it, it's great. And so I wanted to make something maybe related to that. And yeah, so I usually made the music before the chapter I was about to write. So it helped me a lot to create the mood and yeah, the vibes for the whole chapter. And the music is really inspired by Italian new wave of the 70s and 60s and maybe the 80s as well. So those MIDI sounds, synths, yeah.
Could you tell us some artists?
Franco Battiato, Giuni Russo, Mattia Bazar, Milva, Alice. Yeah, these are my favorite ones. Oh, Renato Zero is great as well. No, thank you.
Hi, thanks for the talk and for being so generous to explain your creative process. It's really nice to see that. I played a lot Milky Way Prince and it really touched myself, so thanks for that. You said that Milky Way Prince was a student project and this was made with a global audience intention. Someone asked something similar, but did that intention somehow constrain your creativity or enhance it?
No, I mean, I think you have to think about what is best for that specific project. And I mean, of course, Milky Way Prince had to be intimate, had to be about me and nobody else. So that's its power, because it's so rough in that way. In this case, yeah, I knew I wanted to make something like that, so it was the best for this project. And for this project, it helped me a lot to give on, I had all my shots for this game. So in this case, it would have been very helpful, a lot. Also because, like, of course, that's something you have to deal with, since in Italy there's not actually an audience for this. So it's very hard to, find your people. So you have to learn English, even it's not that easy. So you have to reach the wider audience in that way. Yeah. So it's something necessary still. Yeah.
Can I ask, out of curiosity,
yeah,
what is your audience? Like, do you know where your games succeed most, in which area of the world?
It's funny because they're very popular in the countries where they're kind of banned, like Russia, China. Of course, okay, South America, they are so supportive. Like they really have great audience for everything. I love them. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for coming all the way to Galicia.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, how do you make a game about all these very national topics without falling on cliches? Because that's something I struggle a lot.
Mm. Yeah, it's true, and we have some example now in Italy. They're really trying to exploit the Italian dream that America created. And yeah, I don't know, I mean, for me it was just try not to do what they do. It's just that. And also really think about my core memories of the past. I mean, what remains of those experiences. And if I have to make something more about what I experience today, and I should try not to fall into stereotypes, maybe I should just think about what matters for me now. I mean, what's fundamental for my existence here right now. So which social dynamics are important, which places are fundamental for my social and intimate development, or stuff like that. Yeah. So maybe it's just talk about something that matters. Just that.
Anyone else? ¿Alguien más se anima? Then we can leave it here, so thank you so much, Lorenzo.
Thank you.